Welcome back to the She Might podcast, your go-to destination for all things unexpected motherhood. I'm your host, Erin Galloway, CEO of She Might, and today I'm excited to welcome Christy Shannon to the podcast. Christy Shannon is a marketer who spent 2 decades helping brands grow by figuring out what people actually care about and turning them into stories, strategies, and campaigns that scale. She led marketing at Fandom and Primer, working with brands like Hims and Madison Reed, and built an in-house creative studio from scratch. Now as the co-founder and chief marketing officer of Ollie, she's building the AI personal assistant she wished she'd had through every season of motherhood, one that takes the mental load off parents so they can spend more time actually being present. Christy lives in Southern California with her husband and 4 kids who double as Ollie's most demanding QA team. The goal of today's episode is to hear Christy's story and what inspired her to create ollie.ai, understand how Ollie works in practical everyday use, and learn how Ollie can help lighten the mental load of motherhood. Welcome to the podcast, Christy. We're so glad to have you.
Thank you so much, Erin. I'm so excited to be here and to chat with you.
Can you start by sharing a bit about yourself and your motherhood journey and what that's looked like so far?
Yeah, for sure. So as you mentioned, I have 4 kids. I had my oldest now, he's 15. But when I first had him, he was this lovely baby boy who was sort of that amazing, calm, chill child that made me think like I was an amazing parent doing all the things right. And then reality came later. We had a hard time getting pregnant with him. It took a while, and I was very grateful when I did get pregnant with him. And then we tried again for a while after him, and then finally got pregnant with twin babies. We had twin baby girls about 4.5 years later, and it was a really exciting time, but very much reality setting in with the managing twin baby girls. And I at the same time was working and had been promoted to a VP role, running global marketing for Fandom, and juggling sort of twin babies, managing a 4.5-year-old, and then this bigger job. And about 9 months after they were born, I got pregnant with my 4th. And it was a total surprise because we had a hard time with the others, and it definitely set me on a different trajectory for where I had, sort of initially thought things were going. And at that point, I realized I can't do all of these things. I need to take some time. And so I chose to stay home with the kids, and I stayed home with the 4 of them. I had three babies that were about 16 months apart. And I was sort of just, managing to keep them all fed and doing all the baby things that you needed to do. And about after a year of that, I wanted to have a little bit of work back in my life. And so I started working part-time. And I tried to take on some part-time roles and find some balance between preschool and a babysitter and my youngest at home with a babysitter. I tell that story because I think it's really related to the mental load. For me, I was trying to find some space for myself as I was this new mom with 4 kids, wanting to have a little bit of career back in my life, and trying to figure out, how can I manage all these things? So I implemented this system of preschool, babysitter. My oldest was now in kindergarten, and I was juggling part-time work. And one morning I took my preschool twins to school. I got to preschool and I dropped them off, and the preschool teacher looked at me and she said, do you have snack for today? And I looked at her like, oh no, I had no idea that I was supposed to bring snack today. That did not even register with me. And I'm very much a type A kind of person. I don't like to forget things. I usually have, lists and management and tools and systems in place, and don't let balls drop, right? But I was so overwhelmed with this season of life and everything that was going on and trying to go back to part-time work that I completely missed it. And so I put my youngest in the car. I left the girls at preschool, and I said, oh, don't worry, I've got a few minutes this morning. I'll just go run over and grab it. So I got in the car, went over to the grocery store. I ran a red light, and I got in a car accident. And I was fine. I broke my wrist. My daughter, who was in the car with me, is totally fine. Thank goodness for car seats. Mm-hmm. It could have been so much worse, but it was a wake-up call to me that the mental load that I was carrying and juggling with all of these kids and trying to go back to work was too much. And I needed to find tools and solutions. And this was my first sort of foray into understanding what the mental load was, and trying to understand it as a mom, and then also as a marketer and someone who wanted to find solutions for that.
Well, thanks so much for sharing that. I think that's such a transition story, right? You were in these like high level marketing roles and started your family, and it took some time. And then you had 4 under 4, which is a lot to transition to. Our founder, Andrea, actually just had twins. So they have like a 5-year-old, no, 4-year-old, 2-year-old, and then twins. And so she's in that similar season of life where it's just it's a lot. It's a lot of little humans running around and not running around and needing care. And so I can imagine how wanting to use your brain and kind of go back into the workplace while also managing all this was a tough transition. And I think so many of the women in our community go through similar stages where they're walking through the new motherhood transition, whether that's 1 or 5 children, and then they're trying to incorporate work, or they have to go back to work right away. And you're using all of these like muscles that you haven't had to use before, managing a million different things and carrying that mental load. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's such an interesting start to your story of like how Ollie came about, is because, yeah, this is what mental load is, and you needed to find solutions to that. We talked to a lot of people on this podcast about like the processes that they've created to help with the mental load. And I think everybody finds something that is uniquely different. But that's why I'm kind of like excited to talk about Ollie, because I think from when we met at Mom 2.0 and talked a little bit about it, I was just very intrigued. I'm like, okay, a lot of people are like hesitant. They're like, AI, like what does this actually mean? But tell me more about what you were trying to solve when you created Ollie.
Yeah. So I, in a lot of ways, believe that technology has made our lives more complicated. I think you hear this a lot there's been a lot of talk about creating a 90s summer or trying to live a 90s life. Like we all are craving this simpler time. And in a lot of ways, there's a lot of complexity. There's certainly a ton of benefit that technology has afforded us, but complexity too. And, as a parent, you get these things coming to you in all different directions. It's different apps you have to download for school, or different communications coming from different places. And you've got to stay on top of reminders coming at you from all these, different tools. And it's a lot to juggle and a lot to manage. And I really got excited about the possibility of AI actually reducing some of that complexity and doing some of that work for me. And so this, about 3 years ago, I met my co-founder, Bill, who he has a PhD in AI. He's been studying AI longer than I ever even knew it existed. Wow. And he was starting to work through this idea of how can AI help consumers. And so I really like this thought that AI can make life simpler. And so he and I partnered together to start testing some different ideas. And what we quickly found was that AI is not really, we didn't want to use AI to solve the problem of buying things for you or doing things for you. We wanted it to help you do the thinking work that you need to do before you start to make those purchases or do the things. Mm-hmm. And that is the mental load. And so when we started diving into it more, we realized that AI can be really, really powerful at taking on that mental load for you. And as parents, he and I are both parents, we knew what the mental load looks like and felt like. And we did a lot of research, both with users and dug into existing research to really understand, how can we help and solve this problem? And so, that really became our mission, to alleviate the mental load through AI. And then we started to find different ways we could use Ollie to help solve it. And so we just this year released an AI assistant that lives in your text messages, and it's built for families. So it really just works to take on the mental load of your individual family.
Yeah, I was so intrigued when you were talking about it in Mom too, because I'm like, okay, I just need someone to summarize everything for me. Because this past week, working, dealing with kid stuff, we're about to transition my son to kinder prep. So I'm like thinking through all those things in summer. And we're also redoing our backyard. And the mental math and the load of trying to figure out what I need, how much we need, like when we need things delivered, because it's like, I got a quote and then I'm like, no, we're doing this ourselves. We can do it for a quarter of the price. But I'm telling you, the time it took, like my husband and I to figure those things out, it was crazy. But then I didn't like summarize it in one space. And so I was like almost missing a couple of key things that would have completely thrown us off track. And I find that to be the case with motherhood, like making sure people are picked up and managing, my son is changing his schedule. So that's going to look different because then we have 2 drop offs and pickup, and that's going to look different every day. And so I think this type of tool is something that could be helpful with that. So tell me, how does it work in everyday life? Explain it to someone who's never heard about Ollie before.
Yeah, totally. So, I mean, what you just said there is so true. Like, we don't want to be the ones who drop the ball. We don't want to forget something, and that critical piece of information is so important. And as a parent, that can be like, not, you don't want to forget pajama day, or, or crazy hair day, or, sending in the teacher gift at the end of the year, or whatever, any of those things. And so Ollie, I think of Ollie as a second brain. It all that mental to-do list, I think of it like I have like a ticker tape running through my head. um I've seen it visualized a lot of different ways, but for me, for some reason, like it's stock market ticker tape is kind of how
Mm-hmm.
it works for me. um all of those mental tasks that I have running through my head, I share with Ollie now, and Ollie remembers them for me, and that alone is a relief, because I know now I don't have to keep it running through my head to not forget it, because now I have backup. I have a second brain that remembers that for me. But Ollie is, so it lives in your text messages. That was very intentional. We didn't want to create another app that you're going to have to download, another system to learn, because that too adds to the mental load. It should be in a tool you already know how to use, you already use and communicate with. And it connects to things you already use. So it connects to your email, it connects to your calendar, and it helps summarize that information and bring the most important things to you that are visible. For me, I have Ollie in a group chat with my husband. So the 3 of us are connected, and every morning it sends us a daily briefing of everything that we've got going on, and all of our multiple calendars condensed into one. So we immediately wake up and we're on the same page, and we know what's happening for the day. It knows to look in my email for any school or camp related emails. It summarizes those for me and lets me know which actions I need to take. And I use it to help send me reminders, create lists, plan meals, basically anything that's taking up mental space in my brain. I share it with Ollie. And my favorite way to do this is when I'm driving in the car, because that's often when I'm remembering things.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'll be able to say, hey Siri, tell Ollie, text Ollie, and then I just brain dump. And Ollie makes sense of that and puts it in a structure that actually can be put into action.
Sending to Ollie.
That was perfect.
Siri. Siri just said that to Ollie.
That's so funny. Yeah, I think that's great. Like in the car, that's when I always tell people, like, I'm always sending a voice memo, because this is the time I have to catch up on things and I don't have to use my hands for it. I can just send things. So that does seem like it would be a pretty efficient way to share those things. So there's a broader conversation going on right now about AI. And I mean, I'm sure we've all had those conversations, and I'm sure you have those conversations often, where people are approaching it with a lot of curiosity, but there's also a lot of hesitation around AI. So what would you say to someone who feels skeptical or concerned about bringing AI into their life in this way?
Yeah, this is such an important conversation. And I really understand the hesitation and the skepticism. You may have seen Reese Witherspoon posted on Instagram about a month ago about how now is the time to embrace AI, and oh man, the backlash she got was really strong. I spent a lot of time reading through it. I wanted to make sure that we really understood it, and I really get it. For a lot of us, AI is being forced upon us. We're being told that AI is going to take our jobs. For some people, it may already have.
Mm-hmm.
And we're being shown that AI can do things better than we can. That's scary, and it's frustrating. And there's a lot of trust, that is not been established with AI. And so I think it's really important to acknowledge that and recognize it and know that those are real concerns, and that anyone working in AI and technology needs to think really hard about how we can build this technology in a way that includes that conversation. At Ollie, we do think a lot about that. We talk a lot about it. Because we're building for families, trust is our number one product requirement. And so we take trust and privacy extremely seriously. We've set up really stringent data and privacy requirements for us. We have hired our CTO and one of our co-founders. He built Google's Family Assistant and was the one to make it COPPA compliant. We use the highest standard for privacy protection, and we maintain very rigorous security practices so that your data stays very private. I think that when you think about AI, whether or not you trust the tool, I don't think AI is going anywhere. I think that it's here to stay. And I think if we want AI to work for us, we really need to jump in and use it and join the conversation and push back. When you see things that aren't working for you, or the trust is not there, the privacy protections are not in place, give that feedback, be vocal about it, because your voice is what's going to help change and influence the industry. And the reality is that AI has not been built, in the majority, not been built by women. And still the majority of the people who are using it are men. And so, if we as women, moms, if we want AI to work for us, we need to be part of the conversation and to be using it. And so I think it's a really important thing, and I encourage everyone to kind of talk about it. And I recognize that people may have concerns and they should tread lightly into the space, but I do encourage everyone to try it and join the conversation, and then provide your feedback and help build it to the thing you want it to be.
Yeah. I think anytime you're building something, feedback is the most important thing, because if it's not working for the target audience that you have, then it's like, okay, how do we adapt and actually make the impact? Because to me, it sounds like Ollie has a greater mission than just building an AI tool. It has a greater mission to support families. So on a personal level, tell me how building or using Ollie AI has impacted your own experience of motherhood or the people around you.
Yeah. It's been a couple things. For one, it's really opened my eyes to the mental load as a whole. I've had my own experience. I shared a little bit about that, but really started to dive into the mental load as in our society and how significant it really is. So I really did get to understand that better. And it's also made me really painfully aware of how technology today is still not aimed at the household and solving problems for families. We're very much in the minority in building in this space. And, that fuels me and makes me more excited. And gives me a lot of motivation to use it in my day-to-day life and get it to share it with more and more families. And for us, I really have benefited from Ollie helping me lighten the load in our home. I mentioned I use Ollie in our group chat with my husband. It connects us both. I've been fortunate that he's been a very involved dad and husband always. But the mental load is unseen, and it's often unshared. And I was guilty of that too. And by bringing all this information into Ollie and sharing it and making it visible in a group chat with him, he sees that now. And it's not always coming from me, it's coming from Ollie, which is really, really helpful. And so it does even the balance a little bit between us, and has given me that, sort of a third parent in our household to help us take on the all of that mental work in our house.
Yeah, I think you're so right. I think that the visibility piece is important because a lot of us have really great partners in life, right? They're great dads, great spouses. But I think when you're the default parent, sometimes it feels like you don't see this. You don't see what's actually going on. And so you're right. I think that visibility helps in a way that's more neutral than a conversation that turns into like conflict, which conflict is good and processing some of that can be good. But I think you're right. It kind of adds just another layer to be able to have those conversations and bring things to light to help kind of even that load. So as you think about the future of Ollie, you just publicly launched, which congratulations, that's so exciting. What are your hopes for Ollie and kind of next things?
Yeah, well, yeah, we just launched, and today we're just focused on getting Ollie to as many families as we can so that people can experience it. We really want to continue to build Ollie to be, it's a powerful tool. We want it to be the most trusted tool. And so that's really where our focus is going to be over the next several months, is putting in tools and safeguards and language that makes families feel like it can really trust Ollie. That's reliability, that's more security protections, that's more controls for the user. So, a lot of focus is going to be around making sure that families can feel really comfortable and can trust Ollie. And then from there, we want to continue to grow capabilities. We're getting really great feedback from people asking to connect to sports league apps. Before we started today, we were talking about how youth sports like takes over family life. It totally does. And you have all these different sports apps you need to manage, and Ollie could connect to those and bring that information in text message and summarize it with everything else, so you don't have to check all these different things. We want to do more of those kinds of integrations so that Ollie's reaching out and pulling the information from those different destinations into one central place for you, so you don't have to go do all that checking yourself. So we want to do more of that. We're doing Today, Ollie already connects with Instacart and Amazon Fresh to place grocery orders. We want to do more of that kind of thing so that Ollie can take the next step and actually order things for you. Once you've found the thing that you want with Ollie, it can actually help you take it to the finish line and check that thing off your list, become even more of a family assistant. So a lot more kind of integrations and capabilities coming.
And we can add the link and everything in our show notes, but can you share how people can opt in to use Ollie?
Yeah, Ollie's free to start. You can find it at ollie.ai, and you can start text messaging right from there. There's no download or account creation or anything like that. It's literally as simple as a text message, and you can try it for a while for free before before you need to upgrade to a paid plan. There's enough there to give you a sense of whether or not Ollie is going to be helpful for your family.
Yeah, I like that you said that, because whenever someone asks me for resources, I always give the caveat of you are your own person. You're very unique. You're on your own unique motherhood journey, and your family looks different than everyone else's. So take what's helpful, leave the rest. And that could look like you try Ollie out and it doesn't work for you, but then another person could try it out and it could work for them. So the goal of this podcast is make the early motherhood journey a little bit easier. And so that's why we're featuring Christy's voice, because we want to bring tools and resources to our community that can maybe lighten that load a little bit. And so I'm just encouraged by the work that you're doing to support families. And I love hearing stories where it's come from your own motherhood journey and the pain points that you experienced early on. And some painful things had to happen for you to get to okay, I need a better system in place for that. And so I'm encouraged by that. I think this is something that any mom could probably use, regardless of whether you're a stay-at-home mom, working mom, whatever that looks like. So as always, take what's helpful and leave the rest. It's okay if it doesn't work for you, but it's also going to be great if it works for you as well. So in wrapping up, Christy, can you share one word of encouragement to a mom who's feeling overwhelmed and trying to hold everything together right now?
To any mom out there, you're not alone. This is hard. You're doing something that is one of the hardest jobs, and what you're going through is tough. But you're not alone, and keep going. Find the bright spots in your day, whatever that means for you. If it's just standing in the sunshine for a second, or for me in my early days, I would get up and do a 5-minute meditation. I wasn't very good at it, but I tried just to center myself before the kids woke up. It's give yourself grace and keep going. we're supporting you.
Yeah. Well, Christy, we're so glad to have you as part of our community. And it was just great to connect with you at Mom Too, and for your willingness to come and talk about Ollie on the podcast. I think this is going to be really helpful for a lot of people that are in our community, whether that's our online community, in person, or just anyone that kind of walks on this journey with us. So thanks so much for coming.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure.
And remember, you don't have to navigate motherhood alone. She Might is a community for women facing the unexpected. So the discussions on this podcast are shaped by the experiences of those whose journey have led them to She Might, from coaching clients to grant recipients and those in our online and offline communities. Thanks for being part of our village. You can find any links that we mentioned for Ollie and our resources, along with our social media and other resources mentioned in the show notes. That's all for now. Thanks for joining us on the She Might podcast, and we'll see you next time.